You're listening to the Loving Your Own Soul podcast, and I'm your host, Britt Olson. Guided by my own intuition, my intention is to deliver genuine conversations centered around health and wellness, spirituality, self-expression, and culture. In this space, I will provide you with real-life stories, theories, and inspiring perspectives to help you uncover and tap into your own true potential. I'm so grateful you've chosen to tune in with me on this mindful exploration to living a more fluid life through a deeper connection to the soul. Now let's dive into today's journey. I'm Britt Olson, your host and holistic wellness coach, here for the purpose of guiding you to tap into your true potential. And I'm so grateful to have you tuning in today. Earlier this year, I started doing a few fun facts about me before every episode, and last week we actually spoke about some of my favorite foods I've been eating recently, and I wanted to follow up to that conversation with just a couple of reasons as to why I eat the way I do and the power it has had on my own spiritual journey and growth here in this lifetime. So, first of all, in the journey of cleaning out my system and understanding that some things with my physical body were definitely not on the cleanest path, and that there was definitely some stuff going on that needed to be cleared out. I kind of synchronistically really started learning about plants and herbs and the true power and meaning underneath of our fruits and vegetables and just spirits that are built into all of these beautiful living foods and what they really do for our body. And in this process, it was like the information just immediately downloaded into me, and it almost felt as if I already knew it. Like it wasn't new information. It was just this soulful, this is the truth, this is what life is, and this is the way we're supposed to eat, and these are the foods that can truly benefit us and heal us and work with us and guide us and really just assist in being a step to one of the most beautiful lives and worlds that we could really live in. So it was amazing. It was as if I already knew the information, and nothing really just ever felt more true. And that really just kind of propelled my path, along with some other life experiences and things that took place. I know some of you are familiar with my journey and those who are close to me there, but within that process of really taking a look at it and just truly falling in love with the fruits and vegetables and getting away from, our whole life, we're always told, oh, eat your fruit, eat your vegetables, but we're never really told why. And for me, it was really the why and that intersection of understanding the truth behind it and what our beautiful planet has created and given to us for a reason. And in this episode, we're actually going to talk about how ancient our bodies are, which I'm so excited to kind of dive into that a little bit deeper. But in really cleaning out my body, and it's an ongoing journey as well, I'm definitely not done at all, but I really just opened up on my own spiritual journey so much faster. I've always been a spiritual person. The journey has really started, ever since we come out of the womb, to be honest, because every experience continues to build upon itself, and everything is happening here for us and what we are meant to really walk through in this lifetime. But by really clearing out my body and realizing the stress she had been under and taking everything full circle too, I'm talking about the food I consume, but it's also the sunshine I consume, the way I balance stress, the way I consume things online, the way I move my body. We're consuming all of it, consuming the fresh air, consuming the love from the trees and the plants around us, and just really becoming in touch with the truth of not only who I am, but the truth of our planet and the truth of who all of us are. Really just, it just kind of opened up my spiritual journey. Everything kind of immediately started downloading and evolving, and it's just been such a beautiful process. And I truly believe that some of what I've experienced, I wouldn't have been able to experience because my body was under stress. Mentally, I was fatigued. I was clouded. I wasn't in the flow. I was kind of forcing things to happen, and all the modalities were definitely having an impact, but they weren't having the truest impact that they could have had on me, and were really just keeping me from almost kind of sinking in a way. But then, and having stomach issues and feeling so heavy, and really just everything is energy and it's all connected. And that's just for me. We are all different, all individuals. I completely honor anyone for any space they sit in or where they are on their journey. And really these journeys, they kind of have to hit you and come to you at the point when you're ready for them. So if it hasn't happened for you yet, don't put any pressure for it to happen. There's likely an experience that might be coming up that then is going to make that journey that much more beneficial for you. But at the same time, don't sit back. I know living in fear can be really difficult to get out of, but if you keep getting a little ping or a notion to do something or eat a certain way, give it a try. Chances are that little ping is probably there for you for a reason. But yeah, I just developed a new relationship with my body, my cycle, my bowel movements, my skin, just everything that my body goes through, my intuition, and being able to feel when I eat a certain food and my body lights up with goosebumps and being like, okay, we love this food. Great. Thank you for that sign, body. I will eat more of this. And just listening to really what my body wants, and also just holding compassion for my body. Lately, and I say lately as in the last couple weeks, month and a half-ish, I've been doing a lot of new just work on myself and really clearing out and bringing to the surface blocks and limiting beliefs and some past traumas and things like that. And in the process, my body has started breaking out again. And while, yes, I could feel frustrated, and I do at points because, we all love beauty and we want things to be pretty, I also know that this journey doesn't happen overnight. And per the way my body stores things that I release, she is also physically releasing and purging at the same time. So I just hold a lot of space and compassion for her and look at it as, okay, we've got, we're clearing things out. You've held things physically the way I've held them mentally and energetically. And yeah, it's just all connected, and we are all on this journey together, but then we're also on this journey together with our body and our souls. And for me, just, eating the way I do is truly, it's so much more than just, it's lunchtime and I'm hungry. It's a full lifestyle, and I love guiding others through it. And I'm really just so grateful to be where I am today. But speaking of journey, the journey within our souls, today on the podcast, we have the goddess herself, Shakti, and this is a conversation that truly holds so many keys to where we are headed as a collective and the power of what the future holds. So if you need some hope, here it is today in this conversation. For those who are new to Adi, she is the founder of SoulWork and has led over 1,000 yoga teachers in 200-hour, 300-hour prenatal, conscious business leadership, trauma-informed trainings, and she is truly a humanitarian at heart. She's the best. Adi's mission with SoulWork, her company, is to really just help spiritual leaders who are passionate about social justice and the things going on in this world to assist them in fine-tuning their skills in facilitation so that they can better serve the vulnerable communities around us with true integrity and impact, which is so, so important. And for those who are new to SoulWork, which is Adi's company, SoulWork is a space where spiritual activism really just meets empowered entrepreneurship. Adi is also the host of the SoulWork podcast, executive producer of the SoulWork film, which is absolutely incredible. You'll hear us kind of touch on it in the episode. I mean, my heart dropped out of my body and opened up all at the same time. There was so much in there, especially the first few minutes that just connected with me so deeply. And Adi also works or is a co-founder with a jungle ashram in Costa Rica, and then is the executive director of some other nonprofit extensions of her work. And she is just so incredible. Having her on the podcast and holding space for this conversation was honestly such a gift in itself. And I am so excited to share it with all of you and hear what you all just think about it and what your own takeaways are. And actually, one more exciting announcement that I have not shared with anyone. Speaking of SoulWork, I have enrolled in the SoulWork 200-hour yoga teacher training that starts here in March. And I will be finally, and I say finally because this has been a dream of mine for so many years, but I will be finally going through a yoga teacher training, and none other than Audie's program, which it truly hits so deeply to my soul. And I have no doubt that those of you listening, it will hit home to so many of you as well. So definitely go check out Audie and all of her offerings. I've got a bunch of links down in the show notes. And make sure you also shout her out on social media or in the reviews of this podcast. Tell us what you love about the work she is doing so that we can just really continue spreading the word about her and her impact and just continue the beautiful ripple effect that she has already started on our wonderful planet. Speaking of reviews and things like that, for this month of February, I will be giving away one of my lifestyle tune-up guides. And I will actually be giving away one guide each month for the next 3 months leading up to May as we celebrate our first official year of the podcast. I will do a new drawing every month for those who enter. And if you don't get picked this first month, you can always enter again in March and in April. So there will be 3 winners total. And if you're not familiar, my Lifestyle Tune-Up is one of my programs through my wellness company, Ambu, and was developed to help you gain a clearer understanding on the best ways for you to support your body in this modern world. With this lifestyle tune-up, you'll receive 2 different opportunities to chat with me one-on-one so that we can dial in specifically what suits you best. And you'll receive my Prime Lifestyle Guide along with your very own customized guide, including suggested food swaps, preferred brands, pantry or fridge makeovers, suggested recipes, so much more. It's honestly one of my favorite creations and is really best for you if you're someone who's feeling stuck. You know you need to make a change, but you don't know where to start. You need some new recipes. You have no clue what's actually healthy, air quotes around healthy in today's world, or simply just need some help navigating the murky waters of our wellness industry, because it's definitely not easy. I know that firsthand. To enter for a chance to win February's Lifestyle Tune-Up, all you have to do is subscribe, rate, and review the podcast, take a screenshot for proof that you entered, and then DM it to me on Instagram at lovingyourownsoul, or send me an email with your proof, lovingyourownsoul@gmail.com. Super simple. And if you share the podcast or your favorite episode on Facebook or Instagram, do be sure to tag me or take another screenshot so that you can get an extra entry. Once again, if you subscribe, rate, and review during the month of February, you have about a week left to do it. Screenshot it, send it to me on Instagram or via email, and you'll be entered for a chance to win a lifestyle tune-up. The winner will be drawn and announced on Monday, March 1st, and then the giveaway will restart for the month of March. So it's really my way of thanking you just for all of your support and love of the podcast, but also to really further support our wonderful guests such as Shakti. It's not easy putting yourself out there. So if you are reviewing the podcast, definitely shout out our guests. Name your favorite episode or piece of their story that helped you the most. And I really know firsthand how much it means when you just learn that your own story, experience, or vulnerability made a positive impact on someone else's life. There's nothing like it. And to that point, speaking of impact, let's go ahead and jump into today's incredibly soulful conversation with Shakti. This is a conversation I could not be more proud of, and I just know y'all are going to feel the true depth of Audie's beautiful energy. Welcome to the podcast. I'm so excited to have you on here.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. It's always such a joy to connect with other women that are out spreading incredible work and empowering others. And yeah, it's an honor to be here. So thank you so much for having me.
Yes, absolutely. And you are joining us from Costa Rica, I believe. You're on the East Coast, I think, in the Telemoncan jungle, if I'm pronouncing that
Yeah.
correct.
So I've spent about the last 10 years there in the Southern Caribbean coast. And actually, with COVID, I got kicked out. I was in the United States when they closed the borders on me. So I've actually spent the last year stateside. And this morning, I'm actually here in Cabo San Lucas in Mexico. So I've been hopping around a bit. But yes, most of our work in our home is, there on the Southern Caribbean coast of Costa Rica.
I love that. How is that transition being back stateside?
Well, I think everybody went through, so much this last year. And I mean, divinely, I just kind of got trapped and, had to cancel all of our live trainings and events. And it was super stressful there for a while. But then we took everything online and have been able to really pivot and thrive in that way. So yeah, so it's been interesting making the transition back, but it's also been wonderful, to be with family and, there's different benefits to being
Absolutely.
in both places. So yeah.
Yeah, silver linings beneath it all. That's for sure.
Yes.
Well, you are such an accomplished woman. So you are the founder of SoulWork, and I'm so excited to get into with you exactly what SoulWork is, but you're, gosh, so many things. I mean, from a leader to an entrepreneur, a yogi, a healer, an activist. I mean, you are just doing such incredible work with just really touching lives and changing the world. But I would love to give our listeners just maybe a little bit. I know this is always like a loaded question as to who are you, but maybe kind of why is your soul here on this earth right now?
For me, I've always really had this obsession almost with potential and really wanting my own life to be a vehicle for actualizing my potential, asking these questions around what's possible with my body, what's possible with my voice, how is it that I can soften the burdens of others? And, what education is it that I need? What are these elements that I'm going to be able to drink in myself so that I can have maximum impact, on the world around me. And so from the time that I was very young, I experienced a lot of death in my life. And I think that from a very, very young age, I was asking these deeper questions of, why it is that we're on the planet, what it is that we're supposed to do, like being very, very aware of the reality of how temporary, this gift of this body is. And so, so from a very young age, just asking these deeper questions and a passion for humanitarian work. And I grew up in Black schools, and really just recently I've kind of realized how important that was for me in my earlier development, because I was exposed to so much from a very young age around the Black experience. And I feel like that really did start to lay the foundations for my passion for social justice work and, a lot of the work that we're doing now around trauma sensitivity education and all these different things. And so I think just to soften the burden of others, to be an ally for others, and to educate others on how to best support others, these are my passions and why I'm here.
I love that. So beautiful. You mentioned the body earlier and just kind of, how short our experience in this body right now truly is. And I know with some of your work as it pertains to really kind of healing those emotional wounds and traumas, you do a lot through yoga and the power of moving the body and those activations. I would love to better understand that and maybe kind of what led you to elect to work through the practice of yoga as it comes to healing those wounds.
Absolutely. And so in college, I studied philosophy of social justice. And so I was working with all of these really kind of abstract Western thinkers and, why it is that we're here and, looking at this journey of healing or self-inquiry from a very, very kind of Western perspective. And when I found the yoga philosophy, it just resonated with me so deeply because not only was the philosophy there, the foundations of, how it is to ethically live your life, but there was also this complete science of how it is that we can work with our bodies, through movement, through breath, through visualization, through meditation, to do this healing work as well. And so I think that sometimes when we talk about healing work, it can get really abstract and kind of like woo-woo,
Yep.
And I think that something that's really beautiful about the yoga practice as well is really at the core when we're talking about the hatha practice. So the hatha practice is just any practice that relates to the physical body. So these are the postures, these are the breathing techniques, the cleansing techniques for the body. But when we're working with the hatha yoga practice, what we're working to do is to calm and discharge any energy that might be present in the nervous system. And so ultimately what we're doing is we're working on cultivating a healthy nervous system. Which is, this super, super old part of the brain that, experiences trauma or challenge. It's that part of the body that we feel, charge up in moments of stress or of anxiety. And so what we're doing ultimately through the practices of these different asanas or these postures, or through different ways that we work with our lungs and the mind, we're able to kind of allow this ancient system to soften and to relax. And so we're seeing now this beautiful relationship between kind of Western science and the understanding of psychology and trauma and the nervous system woven together with this Eastern way of talking about it, with the chakras and the samskaras, the nadis, and of all of these Eastern philosophies. We're kind of seeing now how we're able to communicate about both intelligently in a way that we're seeing, how these ancient yogis, like what they were actually doing in terms of restoring health to the physical, emotional, spiritual body. So yeah, it's a super, super fascinating stuff that really is rooted now even more so in science and evidence-based theory. It's really, really, really powerful stuff.
It's so cool. I love that it truly, just the nature of it really brings us back to where we've come from and just who we are at that really ancient soul level as well.
Because the body's so old. I think that we're in this phase now where we're so used to humanity moving so quickly, this era of the cell phone in your pocket and constantly being exposed to all different kinds of information and all of these things. And our physical bodies are trying to evolve and catch up to this new way of being. But the reality is that, we're constantly hit with stressors and anxieties and all of these different things. And our physical body doesn't necessarily know the difference between, being chased by a lion and getting a stressful email from a text. But we're in this phase now in humanhood where we're constantly being hit with these stressors, with these traumas. And if we don't have a way to discharge them, then naturally we're seeing anxiety, depression, all of these things. So, like you said, just like checking back in with this ancient part of ourselves, our blood and bones of our ancestors, and really getting curious about how to, continue to strive for that experience of inner peace, even with all of these, challenges that we're being faced with kind of in modern day. So yeah, really, really powerful stuff.
Yeah. Oh, just so powerful. It also breeds like so much compassion for the physical body as well. I know it's kind of easy, in the moment to get frustrated, whether it's a chronic illness or a gut issue or the depression and anxiety and like, oh, why can't this just go away type thing? But it's also like our poor bodies, like they've been through so much and keep hanging on for us, which is really impressive.
Yeah, absolutely.
So in your work, SoulWork, which I'm so excited to chat deeper with you about that. I actually watched the movie earlier today before we started recording. And as you're talking about just the disconnection and the life that we currently live and all the things that we are hit with right now in this modern society at the very beginning of it, where it's going through the woman in the corporate career in New York City. And it just reminded me so much of my experience kind of trying to chase that corporate dream. And then I had taken a trip in that process down to the islands and just completely became like reawakened in my soul and who I truly was. So just that beautiful display of the busyness and the disconnection, and then that just innate need to strive for nature. It was just so beautiful. I was honestly just hanging on to every second of that movie.
Oh, I'm so thankful. It's so beautiful.
But what exactly is soul work, and maybe kind of what did the birth of soul work, kind of what was that journey for you?
Yeah. So with soul work, we hear the term soul work and, taking this opportunity to work on the soul ultimately, right? So taking space and time to dive into these practices of, silence and meditation and really having a deeper understanding of these ancient modalities and the ways that they could support us in healing in our lives. And also with us, with soul work as a company and as a vision, the idea is that it starts with the soul and then we move into the work, right? So within the context of what it is that we offer as an organization, we have these professional development trainings where we're calling in seekers that are passionate about social justice, seekers that are curious about potential, for them to have the space and time to dive into the questions of their heart and to take space to, really do their own inner inquiry, to look at their emotional patterns, their psychological patterns, really understanding themselves almost from this third party perspective, seeing the areas that need healing, looking at the relationship with our parents, with our grandparents, our relationship with our sexuality, with our bodies. There's so many different layers to all of this. And then ultimately the idea is that if we're going to be stepping out into the world, as spiritual activists or as people that are warriors in social justice, that it's incredibly important that we've done the work ourselves. We see this kind of pattern of the broken healer that is, extremely distraught inside and kind of having this idea that if I'm fixing things externally, then it'll make my inner life more comfortable, And we see now that doesn't really work, right? It's a process of diving into your own inner life and restoring peace and stability there. And then knowing that, with that foundation, then we're going to be much more equipped to be able to serve others. And so throughout the course of our trainings, we're starting with this soul inquiry piece. And then we also are weaving in these elements of spiritual activism, of conscious entrepreneurship, of strategy, and how it is to develop a business model and to make it work. We have a lot of people that come through our organization that are already professionals that are, wanting to expand their companies. Some people as well come in with this, a lot of people come in with this passion for nonprofit work, but are looking, on how to, have the community and the foundation to be able to grow that as well. And so we're really just a collection of leaders, from all around the world that are wanting a place to do our own inner work and simultaneously learn and grow from each other so that we're able to take that inner healing that we're experiencing and ultimately, spread that through our professional lives as well. So so it's a really, really, really beautiful collection of people that come together. And, we have different specialty focused trainings, from prenatal, the trauma informed. So, working ethically with vulnerable groups. We have a yin training now too. And then of course we have, the foundation courses, the 200-hour and the 300-hour trainings for yoga teachers. So lots of different kind of paths for people to deepen their own journey through this work. So lots moving.
So incredible. I love as well just the whole concept of, truly transforming the self within in order to better give back to the world around us and help those then heal themselves. And like you said, the broken healer, the wounded healer archetype and things of just really that importance of just peeling back those layers and really walking through the fear and the pain in order to then more appropriately just help others on the other side.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think too, like something that comes up with that theme, everything that you just shared can also be this like imposter syndrome. Like people feel like, oh, if I'm not perfectly happy inside all the time, then like, who am I to be facilitating experiences for others, And I think that it's a beautiful dance of, we go through these phases of expansion and of contraction. And so anybody that's, guiding others in their work, it's important that they also feel like they have the community where they can be safe in exploring, their own process and the things that they're struggling with as well. Because, as long as we're alive, we're never like arriving, there's always work to be done. And so it becomes this beautiful dance and community of doing your own inner work and then also offering to others and growing and transforming. And yeah, it's a beautiful journey and being of service. So
yeah. And it's truly non-linear as well, which I really appreciate that. And just even also kind of accepting maybe it's the vulnerability of the self or the humbleness that, we live in this society of the perfectionism and the need to reach this certain level in order to then be accredited to do something. But in reality, it's like, what is that level? What are we really striving for in that process?
And there's so many different elements, because I feel like there is this, element of the trained mind, but some of the most, accredited people that I know that have studied and studied and studied, but then for whatever reason, they lack that emotional capacity to connect, or people that are super emotionally intelligent that maybe don't necessarily have the training. Yeah, we're all just different. We all just have our own gifts, our own competencies, and yeah, we all have a way to give back, and so I think it's really, really beautiful to be privileged enough to be in a place of asking ourselves, the best way that we're able to give back.
So beautiful. As humans, we want to naturally grow and to experience change. However, it's the fear of taking conscious action on these wants that keeps us stuck, keeping us unconsciously attached to an imbalanced life, attached to the habits and comfort that pain, suffering, fear, resentment, and limitations of our current realities provide to us. Whereas in reality, our true home, our real home, resides in a world of balance, a world we are aware of, yet also free of anything that no longer serves us. For balance is the key to life. Balance is the aim of all living creatures. We are all alive and living right now in this moment. Our earth is also alive. Our beautiful earth is mostly made up of water, and we too, as human beings, are made up primarily of water. Wherever there is water, there is life. And just as water must be kept in balance here on earth, we as human beings must also be kept in balance. After much discovery and witness to life's experiences, I created Ambu, a modern holistic wellness company. Ambu is a company designed to truly realign you on a mind, body, and soul level. Through my holistic wellness practice, my intention is to guide you to a more rightful and truthful way of living. A simple guide that complements and enhances where you are right now. Real change happens from within and is the key to not only transforming yourself, but your experience of the world around you. Together, I will work with you to uncover your why, adopt sustainable practices for long-lasting lifestyles, and expand to your fullest potential. Our lives, and especially the world of health and wellness, has gotten far too complicated over the years. Through my work with Ambu, I strip it all back to the beginning of time, back to the basics, in order to bring you full circle, not to a new self, but back to the essence of yourself, your one and only authentic self. Ambu offers a variety of programs and resources, each built with intention to target how unique we all truly are. We offer a 9-week wellness program called Life in Balance, which is a snapshot of our larger 6-month program, where we will open the doors to longevity, new possibilities, happiness, the power of plants, and your total well-being. We will focus on all areas of your health, from what you are eating and why you are consuming certain foods to what's happening off your plate. This program is perfect for anyone looking for a new take on life, specific attention on gut and hormone health, mental health, immunity, and even chronic illness. We look at the full picture of your lifestyle, from your sleep, relationships, self-care and daily rituals, spiritual or religious practices, career goals and stress levels, to daily movement and activity. You are a multidimensional being, and it's crucial we keep that in mind at all times. For my 3 and 6-month program participants, one will also receive their very own customized human design blueprint produced by human design guide Becca Daly. Together, through the help of understanding your specific human design, we will be able to even more deeply structure your life in a way that supports how you are naturally designed to operate. It's truly a win-win for all of us involved. And of course, if you are someone who is simply struggling to eat healthier, knows you could be doing something different, yet have no clue where to turn, I've created my Lifestyle Tune-Up, a one-off option for us to find easy swaps, pantry replacements, and help you to better understand what is actually healthy in today's world. Plus, I will leave you with my full guide of preferred brands to shop for and supplement recommendations. All in all, a life well lived is a life that you are able to enjoy. It's time to rediscover your inner calling, your healthiest and brightest you that's been waiting inside of you for all this time. It's time to dust him or her off, and I'd love for Ambu to serve as your guide and accountability partner in this journey. So let's guide you back home to a life in balance through our modern holistic approach to wellness. To learn more, visit us at ambuwellness.com or connect with us on Instagram at ambuwellness, and let's transform together. You know, within your work with SoulWork and things like that, obviously assisting individuals into bettering themselves and really working through that pain in order to give back. But I understand that at the same time with your work through SoulWork and some of the abundance that you've reaped from that, you equally are also giving back, I believe, with child sex trafficking and everything. Is that still part of your mission of empowering women in that area?
Yeah, absolutely. So in the film, we were so blessed to be invited into some of our partners, their organizations where they're housing young women that are needing support. A lot of them have been rescued from human trafficking rings and things like that. And then in some other cases, they're coming from extreme cases of domestic violence and these kinds of things. And so back in 2013, I believe it was the second time I'd been to India, but the first time that I'd been to Calcutta and I'd been to these centers. And I was partnering with a couple other organizations off the map of the world and the Village Experience, which is who I was employed with at the time. And we went over with it was over $1 million in donations, and we're able to support buildings that were housing more women. We were able to support some different fair trade initiatives and job skills training and these things. And Sean Corn was really the leader and the face of the movement, her and Suzanne Sterling at that time. And then since then, these projects have continued, and they're locally owned and operated organizations. And we were just able to support, financially. And the Village Experience has maintained those relationships over the years. And we've been so blessed in being able to contribute in different ways over the last years. And just this year, we were actually able to donate the money to provide clothes, winter clothing and blankets and socks and things for 200 girls that attend the centers there. So we're hoping that through this next year as well, we're offering what we're calling the SoulWork virtual studio. And so starting in March, every single Saturday, we'll have a 2-hour-long yoga class that the world is invited to attend online. And then all of the donations, if people want to donate, they can. If they don't want to, that's also fine. They're welcome to attend. But all the donations from that will go to the human trafficking centers. And so this year we're focusing more on the getting computers, because now they're getting their schooling and their psychological support and all these things virtually. And so we're working on getting internet to the centers, getting that paid for, and then getting computers there as well. So that's our current focus in terms of nonprofit initiatives. And we've had, a number of different projects over the years focusing on mostly the indigenous population as well there in Costa Rica, near where we live. But right now that's our primary focus and project. And it's incredible to have been able to be there, to be able to meet the girls, to be able to meet the women that lead the centers. For me, it's, one of the greatest atrocities on the planet is the exploitation of a young helpless girl. So to be in a position to be able to support in some way with that is, really, really beautiful. So I'm super thankful to be involved in that project.
Yeah, absolutely. Such important work. In what ways did just the children and the women and the experiences and kind of understanding of what they've been through and what's, been taken from them, in what ways did that just really resonate with your soul?
Yeah, I think that for me, And it's interesting because as soon as I start to even dwell on the experience, like I feel myself not having the words, like I feel the trauma kind of creeping into my heart.
Yeah.
But for me at that point in my life, when I went for the first time, I was kind of starting this journey of humanitarian travel and give back. And I was at that point being exposed to all kinds of different global projects and going deep into the jungles of Ecuador, or deep into these different communities in Guatemala, these really, really high poverty areas. And we were able, through different partners that we had globally, to be able to give back in all kinds of different ways. And, from building clinics to schools to all kinds of things. And so I was in this phase of my life where I was kind of traveling constantly, and I was always, from one airport or hotel to another, and being in these super vulnerable communities, and with affluent people that were able to fund these different projects that we were funding. And there was the ethics of that, and being exposed to these different, there's just so much happening. And I think that for me, I realized through that journey that, to constantly be in that state of such intense travel and work and stress just was not good for my soul. Like I wasn't able to sleep. I was, constantly anxious. I would write down the name of the city that I was in on the little table by my bed, so that when I would wake up in panic, I would remember where I was. It was super intense. And so I felt like, for me, I felt like the broken healer in a way. It was I was so anxious, just accumulating kind of all of this trauma and feeling kind of helpless, and I was running on this wheel to try to solve problems. And it was so intense for me. And I feel like that was really the birth for me of wanting a space for myself to be able to be around other people that were hungry to do this kind of work, but that also recognized that they had, things in their own heart that needed attention and needed healing. And so I'm so thankful that I had all of that foundation of experience earlier in my career, because it just added so much depth and global perspective and all of these things that have been so important to me as I've evolved professionally. And also it was, all of that was, the birth of SoulWork. It was realizing that I wanted a space to support other people, and finding the most ethical way to be of service, to have these, conversations from an academic perspective around the ethics and integrity of being of service globally, of being of service in our community, looking at the nuances of culture. And because there's, a lot of people that are trying to do good, but actually find themselves doing more harm than good. And so there's, so many layers with all of that work as well. So,
yeah. Did you feel like at first, with all that travel and just, the anxiousness and everything like that, that was almost you acting out of, quote unquote, what you thought you were supposed to be, how you were supposed to be doing the work, compared to actually getting in touch with your soul and doing it your way and your unique purpose in this lifetime?
Yeah. And I think too that, we have this, when we're out in the world in that way, it's so incredibly important that we do have mentorship, most specifically from the communities of where we're serving, because I think that, and there's all these different kinds of conversations around, serving period, from a place that feels authentic to your soul. And then there's this other layer of, the ethics of working, especially with international Indigenous communities, and really needing to make sure that we're in integrity in how it is that we're, showing up for them. But I was just kind of on, and it sounds like similar to maybe what you experienced, but yes, this concept of working towards success, or kind of feeling like, that I was just in this place of kind of climbing this ladder to what exactly, and so I think that there was this effort externally to heal my wounds around worth, and a huge shift happens when, we start to recognize that instead of, changing the outside so that we feel okay inside, that we actually, really do need to start, with the inside. So
it's so true. It's so true. It's interesting, just all those experiences, the way they accumulate over life, and how maybe in present moment, something can feel like a negative experience, but in the greater picture, it's really just those stepping stones that get you to that space of where you're supposed to truly shine and be yourself and really help others in this lifetime.
Yeah, absolutely.
So within that, I know you've been through your own journey of healing and just, really doing the work, but through your work of kind of teaching embodied leadership and truly living that out yourself, I know it can be really hard. It can be difficult at first when we're kind of acting from the mind compared to the heart space to imagine that it is really possible to actually do work that we love and really maybe take a different road. In what ways do you just really kind of maybe live that out yourself, or just try to inspire others that like it is possible and anything is possible to really live in a true, just a world that we can be in love with?
Yeah, I think that, I think there's just like so much fear present for people. And I think that it's important that we recognize that fear is something that will just always be present, no matter what we actually find ourselves doing. And I think that there's this tendency for people, especially earlier in their lives, some people stick with it their whole lives, but just kind of going for the path that they feel like was laid out for them. And with a spiritual seeker, there's this disruption where we kind of wake up and recognize that we can create our lives, in any way that we want. And it's, it can be terrifying, asking ourselves these questions around what are our beliefs versus like what are taught beliefs, what are our values versus what are the taught values. And if somebody's open to it, there's this whole kind of process of unlearning that can happen before we're really in a position to kind of reconstruct our lives with more intention and purpose and clarity that's more in alignment, with what it is that we're wanting. But oftentimes, that is initiated by something, like you were sharing, that is extremely uncomfortable. A lot of times people come to kind of their waking up to their work, when they've gone through some sort of major portal, whether that be through grief or a lost relationship or, whatever it is, a health scare, all of these things kind of reorient people. And, for me, from the time I was, young, kind of jumped off the cliff and moved abroad and, have been doing this work, kind of right away in my career. And it's been, such an incredible blessing. And, we've been able, through SoulWork, it's like, we have students from all over the world and, trained thousands of yoga teachers and this big online community and all of these people out in the world doing all this incredible work. And, just a few years ago, I was teaching English for $5 an hour, and kind of been in a position myself where I've had to learn quickly and navigate and do all of these things to kind of support the continued growth of the vision. I think a lot of people that are called to me and my work have, similar kind of hippie ideals and mindsets. And I think that it's just important. For me, it's just a joy to be a model to show that, it is possible to kind of have these hippie values of wanting to be of service to others and offer the practices of yoga and all of these different things, and that we can, succeed and build successful businesses, around, what really lights us up. So it's an honor to, be in leadership in that way.
Yeah. And what a journey, I'm sure, for you just in stepping into that role. You mentioned kind of coming together and community and things like that. I would love to know just kind of your perspective, or really just the, importance of community and value and kind of those like just the energy around that collective transformation and collective intentions. And just even as, the feminine energy, whether physical, female, or just the importance of kind of raising the vibration of that feminine energy with the power of community and coming together.
Yeah, I think that mindset is so incredibly important. The perspective that we have and kind of the worldview that we have, mindset is everything in terms of what we believe is possible for ourselves, our values, all of these different things. And it's really, really difficult to maintain a certain mindset and to make things happen for yourself if you're in isolation, and so I find that a lot of people that are called to this work, oftentimes they have this experience of feeling very alone or having a difficult time kind of connecting intimately, emotionally with other women, in sisterhood or in friendship. But they're hungry for this kind of thing, but they just don't know, where to find it or how it kind of works. And so to have community, to have a place that you're able to go and to have these experiences in retreat or in training, and to stay in touch with other people that have similar goals around, personal healing and being of service to others and building businesses or stepping into entrepreneurship. It's difficult to be an entrepreneur if you don't know other entrepreneurs, So it's really important, I think, to have time, in retreat to kind of turn off and unplug, to connect with other people in that way. And then something that I really love about the SoulWork community is that we also, we meet monthly online. There's always other trainings and other opportunities for people to stay connected. We have WhatsApp groups, Facebook groups, and, when different people are going through different things, there's so much support available just within the network. And I think that being around this feminine energy, and we do have, men that study with us as well, definitely mostly women, but just having that, being around this nourishing, collaborative, having that is such a joy. And for me, I've always kind of been told that I was, I'm kind of like a masculine, like I have a strong mind. And I think that feminism, up until kind of recently was kind of like being like the man, where women feel like they had to, have these certain qualities in order to be successful. And I feel like now we're in this beautiful phase where we're kind of reshaping femininity. And that, it's no longer about being equal to the man, like no longer about being the same as a man, but about really, really discovering what it means to actually be an embodied woman, and we're all kind of exploring and playing with that together, because we don't really necessarily have a model for that, So it's great to come together and play and laugh and study and cry. And it's such a joy. All the things. Yes.
I'm curious to hear just your journey with kind of maybe having more of that masculine energy that was more apparent to you. And I know just even with a lot of us females, it's kind of, we almost think that, even for myself, like I, for periods of my life, felt ashamed as like, oh, that's too girly. Like, I don't want to be seen as too girly and things like that. And I know it can be common, especially in the corporate structure and career world, and feeling this need to match that masculine energy and things. But in what ways did you start kind of like tapping into your divine femininity and start bringing that out in yourself?
I think a huge part of that is around healing in our sexuality. I really think that that's been such a tool over time for us to feel small. And it's really, even just something as simple as like to this day, it's like girlfriends, if somebody needs a tampon, like sneakily handing it to her, like it's like the process of our body is somehow like shameful or less than, and I think that really runs super, super deep. And so when we come into a place where, we can use these practices of yoga, of breath, of dance in particular, these different ways of moving our body, of working with sound and movement in the body, kind of these like primal practices. At first for me, I know I would see someone kind of practicing this way and it would like super, super freak me out. But I've actually found that those kinds of practices have been so incredibly important for me in accepting my voice, having a more loving relationship with my body, kind of channeling this feminine, sensual power, where I feel like I used to really shy away from that part of myself because it was, slutty or bad, or I don't know. It's just like this, the core of our power is we've just been told to avoid it, and I think that when we lean into it, there's really so much that can start to happen when we, step into loving that part of ourselves as well.
I love the fact that it can also be the flowy and, maybe soft, like wind energy of the feminine, or it can also be that fire and kind of like fierceful with grace in that kind of just like divine way. I just love almost like the balance, all that is involved in the feminine. Like it's truly multidimensional.
Yes.
So fun. And dance. Dance is something I've been reconnecting with the last few months, probably the last year, actually. Time, I feel like, doesn't exist anymore, but it just feels so good to like close your eyes, be with the sound, or keep your eyes open and just let your body flow and move. And I've even found that in my yoga practice a little bit too, of sometimes just even giving myself a little more freedom to move through a posture than how I traditionally kind of did. So
yeah, because the yoga practice is very masculine in its nature. It's like body control and straight lines and the biomechanics, and introducing more fluidity into our practice. And I remember too, like, I just want to emphasize this again, because when I first came into this kind of work, I had been, celebrated for being an academic, and was always, celebrated for the strength of my mind and results and statistics. And, these were the things that I kind of clung to show that I was worthy, and so I had so much resistance internally to all of this kind of stuff. I didn't really understand the benefit of it. So I just want to, anybody that is listening, especially a woman that, identifies, with the strength of their mind, like, please, get curious around what it means to really explore your femininity, because for me, it's been, one of the most beautiful and meaningful explorations of my life. So I just, really encourage people to dive into, movement, exploring their sexuality. These things are really, really powerful.
Yeah, completely. Thank you for that. And kind of like dipping the toe in that resistance, maybe. I know with the work and soul work, one of the things you all work on is really walking through those pain bodies initially in order to then blossom through the other side of that.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So with soul work and looking at whether it's soul work in your work, the vision you have for our future as a collective, individuals, what does, I guess, kind of like, where are you headed with everything? What vision do you have for the future?
Yeah. So, I think that something that's becoming more and more front and center in the work that we're doing is this element of inclusivity, of accessibility. And with that comes this, trauma-informed education. And so, when we're looking at trauma-sensitive or trauma-informed leadership, we're starting to understand that as we're stepping into service, especially if we're moving into these vulnerable communities or making yoga more accessible in prisons, in inner cities, in battered women's shelters, in, elementary schools, bringing these practices to oppressed groups, inviting more diverse leadership into our trainings, so that this work is getting out into the world in a new level. It's important that we, as leaders and guides, are educated on how to do more good than harm, And so this trauma theory and understanding trauma, oppression, how this works, and having these conversations around creating, safer spaces for people with diverse backgrounds. This is what's going to really take yoga from this kind of mainstream 40-year-old thin white woman practice, to actually seeing how we can implement this in an even bigger way. This journey of spiritual healing really being something that is taken seriously as a respected path, for the masses to have access to being able to do this kind of inner work. And so, the trauma-informed education and weaving that into pretty much all of our trainings now, having these hours that are set aside for this education on these kinds of things, and conversations around diversity, around privilege, around the neuroscience of what trauma is and, where it comes from, taking personal responsibility for, making sure that we're continuing to make more efforts in our being an ally, all of these kinds of things. it feels more and more urgent to weave in this level of integrity and understanding as we're, continuing to kind of build the yoga industry into its next phase and evolution, which is, really getting these practices to the people that can benefit from it the most, So yeah, so it's really exciting. It's exciting to see it. We just had our trauma-informed training. It was going to be in person, but we moved it to online, and then we're able to operate online. And we had nearly 200 people in this online training, which is the biggest one that we've had.
Wow.
And it just shows, how hungry people are for this kind of work. And yeah, it was beautiful. It was a beautiful exploration. So
That's amazing. So incredible. Do you have any feelings on even just like the timing of all of this right now? Or kind of maybe why do you feel that just the spiritual inquiry is so crucial for right now, and just even kind of feeling that momentum being curated around it and just everyone wanting to really make those true impacts?
Yeah, I mean, I think that, last year we all just had the rug torn out from underneath us, And so I think that people in quarantine, people taking space for themselves, people kind of reevaluating like what the world is, where we're headed, like what's happening. And, we've seen all this turbulence politically and socially and culturally. And, it seems like there's this collective opportunity to reflect, in a global way. And I feel that, when people had that space and time, it became clear, what was important, and collectively, we as a generation, what's important to us. And, we're seeing all of this come to light in a new way. And we're seeing companies step up and individuals step up, and people being more open to getting curious about their role in all of this, And so, so it's just been this beautiful weaving, with the pandemic and the racial, the fight for racial justice, and the, political environment we find ourselves in. And it's just been so fascinating to watch. And I feel like people are, now more than ever, more open to personal development work and to, asking themselves these deeper questions. So yeah, it's been beautiful to witness.
Totally. Just the weaving of it all. It's been so beautiful and just divinely guided. I mean, you can really just feel the energy of it all. It's incredible. Well, for those listening, where can people find you? Where can they stay connected to you?
Yeah, so SoulWork.com is going to be our hub for everything. We have programs as well in Spanish this year. Our 200-hour, 300-hour, and our prenatal we're offering in Spanish. So we have, lots coming up. Our yin training, the 200-hour foundations, 300-hour advanced training and business building intensive, prenatal. And then we also have the film that's available there to check out. We have our podcast there as well. So lots of exciting things. We also have our monthly membership. It's $9 a month, and there's tons of videos there with teachings on philosophy and the postures and business growth. And there's so much there as well at the SoulWork Academy. So lots of different ways to connect with us there. And then I'm also on Instagram, Adi Shakti Rising. So ADI_SHAKTI_rising. I'd love to connect with you there as well. And yeah, that's what we got going on.
Cool. Adi, this was so incredible chatting with you. Well, before we close out, I love to end with a couple just kind of fun, loving your own soul questions, as I call them, which I just are questions I kind of just intuitively come up with before the episode. First question for you would be, what color resonates the most with your soul?
Purple.
Cool.
Purple.
Love purple. Do you have a favorite photo of yourself?
I don't think I do. I don't know that I do have a favorite. There's this picture I have now. It's my grandpa and I, my background on my phone. So I guess right now, today, that's my favorite picture. Me and my favorite person on earth, my grandpa. So
I love that. Is he still here with us?
He is.
Cool. Yeah. So fun. I love our elders so much. Mm-hmm. They're so incredible. Speaking of grandpa and kind of, maybe looking back at childhood and things, what was something that you loved to do as a child?
I used to bicycle a lot, and I would have my little basket, and so I would like ride around the neighborhood with my little tricycle and basket, and if I found trash I would put it in my little basket and then I would go home. Another thing I'll just add quickly, which I think is so funny and like such a symbol for like give back in a lot of ways, is I used to, after it would rain, I would go out and I would collect the worms because I didn't want them to get squished by cars, so I'd like go out with this intention of helping and like put all these worms in this box with like some dirt. And then of course the next morning they would be dead, so it's like, I'm like trying to help, but it like wasn't working, it's like, little Ida used to do things like that. So.
I love that so much. That's hilarious. I used to have this affection, this one house, we lived kind of by a marsh and there were always little box turtles out. And I always thought I was helping the turtles, in that I kept putting them back on the other side of the street, like where they came from, but really they were just trying to cross. So I feel that with your worms.
That's so funny. We're just trying to help.
Exactly. Yeah. Good intention. For sure. Do you feel a stronger connection to the sun or the moon?
The sun.
Yeah.
Sure.
Any reason why?
I don't know. I mean, I feel the moon. I feel like the moon is just more subtle, I guess, but for me, I'm Pitta, I'm fire is my element. And so the sun definitely, and I think balances me too. I do feel this really deep connection to my feminine, and in the yoga we learn that the sun is the masculine, and so it feels, I feel very guided by the warmth and the power of the sun.
Yeah, I feel that, especially sunrise, like nothing more powerful than just fully feeling the sun wake up and your body react to it. It's truly amazing. If you were to spend an entire day with someone, whether they've passed or they're still alive, who would it be?
My grandmother, my father's mother, for sure, without thinking twice about it.
Cool. So last question. When did your exploration to diving deeper into your own soul first begin, and how has it evolved since then?
I really think that with the loss, actually, of the woman that I just mentioned, I think that that's really what started it. I lost her right around when I was 15. And initially it started I was just that age, and it started this like drug experimentation stage, which I feel like was important for me as a seeker to have that, and also just makes it so that I'm able to connect and understand, with so many of our students that come to us struggling with addiction or having lost people to addiction. But there was that phase of it. And then, getting curious about how to heal, without needing to have substance, and I think that initially I was just in so much pain that I didn't know what else to do. And so that was how I responded. And then, and then I got curious about really getting to the root of it, with grief initially being kind of my initiator into this work. And then, over time, just finding, just any challenges that came up in life, knowing that I had community and spirit and tools, has been incredibly important. So.
Love that. The journey. Well, thank you so much for holding space here today. This was truly such a gift. It was so empowering getting to speak with you, and your work is just truly magnificent. And I mean that wholeheartedly. And I'm so excited for our listeners to dive in. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And I'm looking forward to continuing to watch you grow. And I hope that, we find other ways to serve and support together. So thank you so much for having me.
So empowering, impactful, all the things. So much gratitude to Adi for sharing her story and holding space together. Such a beautiful conversation. I am truly so grateful. We are all so grateful to have gotten to partake in that. So definitely connect with her further. Check out our programs. It's so inspiring what she is doing, and definitely give her some love from this episode. As you do so, be sure to enter to win one of my lifestyle tune-up guides for the month of February by subscribing, rating, and reviewing the podcast. Plus, you get a bonus entry if you also share your favorite episode with us on Instagram or Facebook. Be sure to screenshot your proof and then send it to me as your entry on Instagram at lovingyourownsoul or email lovingyourownsoul@gmail.com. This lifestyle tune-up guide really retails for $88 but is valued at over $300, and it has changed so many lives. I know it will change yours too. So thank you again for tuning in and being a part of this community, and I look forward to continuing the journey with you again soon.